Hello you guys, welcome back to another video here on my channel. If you are new here, hi, welcome. My name is Erin. This is my channel where I talk about all things beauty, movies, and books. Beauty, movies, and books. So if you're interested in any of those topics, definitely think about sticking around. I do book videos a couple times a month, so I just started doing that because I love books, and when I started reading booktube, I was like, that just seems like so much fun to do. So here we are, and I've focused a lot on makeup and horror movies on my channel here. And so since I love to read horror books, I thought let's just throw in some books content in general. It fits, I think it fits really well. And books and movies kind of go hand in hand sometimes because many books are made into movies, and not really vice versa, but sometimes vice versa. But anyways, if you're returning, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it. But we're in for my September and August wrap up of what I read for those 2 months. I did not read a lot in August, actually. In fact, I only read and finished one book in August, which is super low. I think that's probably my lowest for the entire year. Even months that I didn't read very many books, I at least read 2 to 3 books. But August, I don't know what it was. I think it was the beginning of the school year. I am a teacher, so getting back into the beginning of the school year is always really busy. I don't have time. I'm exhausted. And so August was just not the moment. I know it's going to be a trend. But yeah, one book in August that I finished. And then I finished way more in September. So we'll get into that. Guys, one book I was going to have for my October reading, it's going to be on my October TBR video, actually, that I'm going to be posting after this one. So if you'll notice this video in my October TBR, I actually started reading it and finished it in one day. Was not expecting that. I started it at the end of September, so I was not expecting to finish it, especially how my schedule has been. I haven't had a lot of time to read, but I finished it in one day. It was that good. So since I finished it in September, I'm going to include it in this September wrap up, and it will be in my October TBR video, but I've already finished reading it, so there you go. Let's go ahead and hop right into the video. Starting off, this is the only book I finished in August. The Sundown Motel. One I had actually started, I think, in July. Didn't finish it in July, and then I don't know what it was. It took me so long to finish this, but finally finished it in August. So this was the only book I finished in August. This is a horror novel, would have fit perfect for my October TBR, but I definitely had fun, enjoyed this one. It's kind of like a haunted hotel kind of, or motel rather, story. So the Sundown Motel by Simone St. James is following 2 different timelines, and we're following actually a aunt and niece. So the aunt went missing in the 80s at this involving with this motel, and then the niece is looking for her because she just wants to have answers. And so her mother had recently died, and so she just wanted to figure out what happened to her aunt because her mother never really talked about it. And so she goes to work at this motel in the present time, whereas the aunt disappeared in the 80s, and we're following both stories back and forth. It's very interesting. There are some really kind of creepy parts to this book as well, with the like haunting and ghosts and stuff. So I really did enjoy this one. I actually got this for book of the month. It was one of my book of the months. I actually got it in January. So did I get this in January or sometime, or I probably picked it? I don't remember, but it says January on here. It was really good, actually, and I just now got around to reading it. I do really enjoyed it. If I were to give it a rating just off the top of my head, I would probably say maybe a B-. I don't think it's, and I probably should be harsher with my ratings, but unless it's something really terrible, I won't probably give it anything super low. But B-, maybe like a 3-star out of 5, 3.5 star out of 5, because I really did enjoy the creepiness. But I feel like it just, maybe I'll give it a C+. I'll give it a C+ because it took me too long to get really invested into the story. While I liked the characters, I didn't feel super attached to them. And while the story was super scary, I feel like there maybe could have been a little bit extra. I don't know. Actually, it was pretty scary. It was pretty good on the scare factor. I think if this was adapted to like a movie or TV show, you would get some pretty good scares. So overall, C+, 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5. All right, the next one I actually checked out from the library, and I've already returned it, so I don't have a physical copy, so I will just pop up a picture. This is one I started in September but did not finish until I started in August but didn't finish until September, and I actually wrote down I finished it September 1st. So the book is The Long Walk by Stephen King. This is one that has really left a mark for me. Like, Stephen King, I told as one of my favorite authors. He is probably my number one. I've read so many of his books, and I really do enjoy his stories and his characters. I think that he just does it so well, and the way he comes up with all these different scary stories is just amazing. But this one really was so good. I don't know when this one was exactly. I don't remember when it was exactly published or in like what order or when he exactly wrote this one. I think there was some interesting story that he wrote this a long time ago, but he didn't publish it until much later after he had published several other books. But The Long Walk is following a group of boys, I think like about 99 to 100 boys, that are in this competition where you're walking and you cannot stop. You get several warnings, but you cannot stop walking or you will be shot and killed. And so it's just like such a simple concept, but also so like, who would think of this, like, really? And so these boys are all just walking and walking and walking. It comes to mind, you think, what would be their purpose for even joining this? Like, why would they even want to join this? The prize of the long walk is whatever your heart desires, whatever you want, basically. But at the same time, you almost wonder if they've had like a death wish from the beginning to even join into something like this, because there's no guarantee you'll be the last one walking. And so throughout the story, we're following, and it's all boys, no young girls, all young boys. I think like preteen to teenage age, no one over maybe like 18, 19 years old. And we're following them as they're walking miles and miles and miles and miles. It really makes you almost feel it as you're reading it, and honestly, you start to kind of almost go insane with them as they're walking this long walk. They really start to lose their grip on reality, of course, and all that comes with walking endlessly until there's only one left. So I really recommend this book. I think it was super good. It's definitely going to go, and so one of my favorites from Stephen King. I would give this one definitely like an A+ for sure. Very good. Liked it, loved it, great. I mean, I'm not expecting anything less from Stephen King. So I don't hear a lot of people talk about this one, but I think it's definitely worth checking out. So The Long Walk. All right, also in September, I finished The Poison Throne, another one from the library that I've already returned. This one was like a fantasy book. I think this is the second to last book I finished, besides the one I just finished that was supposed to be for October. But this one was a fantasy novel about this girl who's kind of torn between her two childhood friends who are both going for the throne, but the one that was the heir to the throne has suddenly been pushed out by the king, and his bastard son, or illegitimate son, I should say it that way rather, is put into the place of the throne. And she's friends with both of them, has grew up with them, etc. And so she's just wondering, who should she choose, kind of, and where should their loyalty lie. And even the illegitimate son does not want the throne because he is loyal to his brother. And we have this kind of mystery going on throughout the book of why this happened with the king. Why did the son that he loved, that was his heir to the throne, why did he suddenly oust him and tell him, he wants everyone to forget about him? He's thrown them out of the kingdom. What exactly happened? We don't get an exact clear answer all the way in this book, or at least not one that was satisfying to me. We got kind of an answer, but it wasn't satisfactory to me. And overall, I think the book was good, but I wouldn't say it's like one of my most great fantasy books that I've ever read. We also have we do have some romance in this one as well. The new heir to the throne, the illegitimate son's best friend, is the romance interest for our main female protagonist. And they fall in love, and they build this friendship. It's like a hate to love type of thing that happens with the book. So, oh, did I tell you the author? The author is Celine Kiernan. I put it down. I will pop up a picture. So overall with this book, I feel like this book was good. I enjoyed it. I finished it. I didn't, not finish it or DNF it. But I don't feel like it's, like I said, it's not like the best fantasy romance that I've ever read. And the fantasy part in it, is it really fantasy now that I'm saying that? Kind of. Yes, there's like ghosts and people can talk to cats, but like the fantasy element is not even super strong in this. Like that's like to me, that seems like a very minor factor in this book. And there are more books to this. I don't know if I will continue the series, but there are I probably should. It wasn't that bad, but there are more books in the series. But I feel like the fantasy element is not like the main part of the story. It was more like court intrigue, court drama, and you know, who's gonna be the throne and all this stuff happening. And yeah, I would say maybe I would give this one a C minus. I don't know if the books get better, but yeah, definitely like a C minus. After that, I have another one which definitely would have fit in with October. Monster Street, from this Monster Street series, The Boy Who Cried, Werewolf by J.H. Reynolds. So very reminiscent of the Goosebumps series. I actually got this series recommendation on Cameron Chaney. He mentioned these books, so I picked it up from Barnes and Nobles or Books A Million, one of those, and I finished it. It did not take me long. It took me literally, I think I read half of it in one day, and then I just kind of, you know, put it down. I could have finished this all in one day. I finished bigger, of course, books in this, but I put it down and then I finished the rest of it the next day. Very easy, short read, middle grade book. I do really enjoy middle grade books. Basically, we're following this boy as he's going to his grandparents' house, who he has really never met. He's not met, and he's staying out in this place where they have no technology, no nothing, and lurking in the woods is some sort of creature that he's trying to figure out what it is, what's going on. And also with that, his father, who passed away before he was born, there's some sort of mystery going on with that. So obviously we have some werewolf happenings within this book. It has a nice little, you know, subverting your expectations within the book as well, although I did kind of guess the ending before it happened. I definitely guessed it, but I mean, it is a middle grade book. I mean, if you're reading this as an adult, it's not super hard, especially if you're an avid reader of like the Goosebumps series, or horror in general. I definitely expected the ending, but overall I really enjoyed this. It was a short, fun read and it was very nostalgic, so I will give this a B-. Another one I finished in September is What Comes After by Joanne Tompkins. This one was an interesting read. I really did enjoy this one. This is basically following this man who, like a middle-aged man, whose son is killed, and he is killed actually by his son's friend, and someone that the main man in this movie considers like a son. And so we're following this man throughout this book as he's dealing with the grief of his son, as well as this other family that is their neighbors, with the fact that their son is the one that killed him, and he also committed suicide. So trigger for that in here, trigger for that, and a lot of other things in this book can be a bit triggering: abuse, neglect, you know. So also R-ing people, all of that in here. There's a lot of triggering stuff in here. If you are triggered by that kind of thing, those things or those topics, maybe steer clear of this. But there's definitely some tough topics in here. But it was a good read. I really did enjoy it. First, I couldn't get into it the first couple pages, but once I got past those first few chapters, it really grabbed me in because I was quite curious. Because not only are we dealing with these two families that have lost their sons, one they've lost to, he killed his friend and killed himself, and then the other one was killed. We're also dealing with a young girl, Evangeline, who pops up to this man, what was his name? Daniel? Yep, the man Daniel, who's the father, pops up to his house and she is pregnant. So we're all wondering throughout the book, like, is it one of the boys' baby, etc., etc. There's a lot of, you know, mystery behind that, and this young girl is one who has been abandoned and not very well taken care of, and she's a fiery spirit, etc., etc., who comes to Daniel, and she knew his son before he got killed. So that was a lot. I hope that explained a lot. I didn't tell too much. I'm terrible explaining books. Overall, I really did enjoy it. I thought the topics were quite deep, like quite traumatic topics, if I can say it that way. I don't feel like the Arthur handled all of the topics very well. I think they could have been handled a bit better, some of them. I also feel like there was a lot there. Daniel also is a, what was he? Was he a Mormon? Not a Mormon. Puritan? That's not the word. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I forgot. He's very religious within his religion, but he struggled with that as well, which I liked that kind of thought process, to struggle with faith when you have something traumatic happen to you. But there was a lot of that in here, and a lot of talking about him just sitting silently and whatnot. Also, the main girl, the 16-year-old pregnant girl, I don't know. Her character didn't really do it for me. I don't know. I did like the relationship between Daniel and Evangeline, although not very realistic for a 16-year-old girl to pop up and start living with a older man, even if he is a good person. But overall, I really did enjoy this book. It was entertaining, and I feel like it overall was good. There was something at the end that I did not vibe with when, I don't want to spoil the book, but all I have to say is that if, someone was to kill my child and, their family wanted some kind of reconciliation, no. I don't know. I don't even have kids, but I don't know. Something about the ending did not vibe well with me. But anyways, guys, let's go on and move to the next book. Rating. Sorry. If I were to rate this book, I would probably give it a B-, because I did really enjoy it. It's just I have some issues with it, but I really did like the story overall. Okay, you guys, almost done. Another one I read in the month of September is For the Wolf. I read it on Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy. I read it as an ebook, and this one is a fantasy romance, basically a retelling of parts of Little Red Riding Hood and like Beauty and the Beast in there. So we're following this girl whose name is Red, short for Redarius, something, and she is basically a sacrifice to the wolf of the forest, because every every second daughter in the royal family within this community or town or wherever are sacrificed to the wolf in order to keep the horrors and dangers of the woods, monsters of the woods, from attacking the people. So she has grew up her whole life knowing she's going to be sacrificed to the wolf, and she goes into the forest, and lo and behold, it's not a real wolf, and we have some ensuing romance going on between Red and the wolf within the forest. And so the expectation that this wolf is like big and bad and scary is not actually true. So we have all this stuff about nature and the wood. It was quite interesting read. I wouldn't say it was the best thing I've ever read fantasy romance wise, and I do really love fantasy romance, because there were some parts of it I was like, this is a little dragging, and also kind of hard to keep up with the magic or the system of magic within it, where it was just like, oh, I'm connected to the woods, I've got to spill blood to do this. I don't know, I wasn't following. And it wasn't complicated or anything, I just was not following the true concept of it. So overall, I did enjoy it. And it's by Hannah Whitten. I keep forgetting to say the author. It's going to be on the screen here. So I did finish it in September. I did enjoy it. I would give it a C+, like a high C, like 3.8, 3.7 out of 5. It was enjoyable. I did like it. I like the romance. There are more books in that franchise or series. I might read them, I might not. I wasn't super interested in continuing with it though, because I think the second book might continue a little bit with Red's sister, and I'm not that interested. So there you go. Let's get to the last book. Read and finished in the month of September is The Push. I literally finished this the last day of September. I was so mad at myself because this is actually going to be in my October TBR. I'm having it in the video and everything, but I couldn't help myself. I started reading it and finished it all in one day. Actually finished it the 29th, all in one day. Super good. It's not a very super long book, but wow, very interesting. It's just over 300 pages, like 302, 301 pages. So The Push by Ashley Audrain. So good. Oh my goodness. It's following this mother who has a history, her family has a history of the women being kind of abused, not having great mothers, and then that cycle kind of continues on. So we're following parts of it. We're following her grandmother being abusive and neglectful to her mother. Then we're following her mother being neglectful and abusive for her, and then our main female protagonist, who is the story is about, we're following her as she is scared to become a mother herself, but eventually she marries her college sweetheart, has a child, and she cannot connect with her child either. She thinks there is something wrong with her child, and so throughout the book we're wondering, is there something really wrong with her child? Is she really a bad seed, evil, etc., etc.? Or is it all in the mother's head? And is there something that's going on with the women in this family where they are kind of not being very reliable? Like, we don't know if she's a reliable narrator, or she not connect with her child because it's her. So it's a very interesting read. At first, when I first started reading it, I was like, I am not going to like this because it's kind of in like second person, the writing, and we're jumping back and forth between 3 different timelines. But as I got more into it, you guys, I was so enthralled with this. I literally finished it in one day, and that for me tells me it was good enough and interesting enough for me to like it a lot. And the story, I mean, you can also read things in one day, but for me, the story of this was just so interesting, so compelling, deep and dark, but also just, you know, brought up so many different questions of nature versus nurture, you know, motherhood, etc., etc. I don't personally, I'm not a mother, but definitely as a woman, I could definitely connect with that and sort of the thoughts that she had as a first-time mother. And then she eventually has another child, and something tragic happens, etc., etc. I won't try to say too much more than that, but again, very good book. I would definitely recommend it. If you've not read this, would not recommend it for first-time mothers or like expecting mothers maybe, because again, lots of triggers in here between the neglect, the abuse from the children, to self-harm, just like a huge amount of depression from the first-time mother. There's a lot of stuff in here that maybe as a first-time mom or expecting mom you might not need to read or want to read, I guess. But yeah, I think overall the book was really, really good. Really, really liked it. If you've not read this, read it. I don't know if it'll be for everybody. For sure, probably not. But for me, I really liked it. I'm going to give this an A+, because I really liked it. There you go. All right. So you guys, that is all of my books I read for August and September. I really had a great time in September reading. August, like I said, huge slump. But September, I pretty much enjoyed most of those books. Although there weren't that many great ones. But I have to say, The Long Walk and The Push, definitely for me, A+ books for sure. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up down below. Let me know any books you read in August or September, or any books you're planning on reading for October. Spooky time is coming, and I can't wait to get into some more horror and thriller books. And if you like content like this or videos like this, definitely hit the subscribe button down below. And yeah, I'll show you guys out in the next video very, very soon. Stay safe. Adios.